A very good afternoon to all of you. I ex- Good afternoon to all of you. I extend my hearty welcome to all of you for coming to this special day. Today is the 17th Foundation Day of Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda Educational and Research Institute, also known as fondly Swamiji's University. On the 4th of July in 1902, the very day of Mahasamadhi of Swamiji, he said, keeping the ancient wisdom tradition intact and blending it harmoniously with the modern scientific knowledge, we should establish a university at Belur Mutt. He also said the spiritual impact that has come to Belur will last 1500 years and it will be a great university. Do not think I imagine it, I see it. These words of the Nara Rishi is reverberating in the atmosphere today. It's a very special day. We have amongst us most revered General Secretary Maharaj, the Chancellor of the university. Our humble pranams to you, Maharaj, for being with us. We have with us our chief guest today, Professor Partho Sarathi Chakraborty, the director of IIEST Shibpur. We also have with us Swami Atmapriyanandaji Maharaj, our revered Pro Chancellor, and we have Swami Sarvottamanandji Maharaj, our Vice Chancellor, and Swami Kirti Pradhanandji Maharaj, our Registrar. So, with this few words, we will begin the program. As it is customary, we will begin with the invocation, that is the Vedic chanting, done by the Brahmacharyans of this center and led by Swami Japasiddhanandji Maharaj.
श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः सुष्ठुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ तच्छंयोरावृणीमहे गातुं यज्ञाय गातुं यज्ञपतये दैवी स्वस्तिरस्तु नः स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वं जिगातु भेषजं शन्नो अस्तु द्विपदे शञ्चतुष्पदे। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ यश्छन्दसामृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽमृतात्सं बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया स्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासं शरीरं मे विचर्षणम् जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवं ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ मधुवातामृतायते मधुक्षरन्ति सिन्धवः माध्वीर्नः सन्तोषधीः मधुनक्तमुतोषसि मधुमत्पार्थिवगुं रजः मधुद्यौरस्तु नः पिता मधुमान्नो वनस्पतिर्मधुमागुम् अस्तु सूर्यः माध्वीर्गावो भवन्तु नः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ मेधा देवी जुषमाणान आगाद्विश्वाची भद्रा सुमनस्य माना त्वया जुष्टानुदमाना दुरुक्तान् बृहद्वदेम विदथे सुवीराः त्वया जुष्टर्षिर्भवति देवि त्वया ब्रह्मा गतः श्रीरुतत्वया त्वया जुष्टश्चित्रं विन्दते वसुसानो जुषस्वद्रविणो न मेधे मेधां इन्द्रो ददातु मेधां देवी सरस्वती मेधां मे अश्विनावुभावा धत्तां पुष्करस्रजा अप्सरासु च या मेधा गन्धर्वेषु च यन्मनः दैवीं मेधा सरस्वती सामां मेधा सुरभिर्जुषताग स्वाहा आमां मेधा सुरभिर्विश्वरूपा हिरण्यवर्णा जगति जगम्या ऊर्जस्वती पयसा पिन्वमाना सामां मेधा सुप्रतीकाजुषन्ताम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्रीरामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।
Thank you, Maharaj. Now, may I request Pro-Chancellor Maharaj, Swami Atmapriyananda Ji, to felicitate revered Chancellor Maharaj, revered Swami Suvirananda Ji Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Now, may I request Honorable Vice Chancellor Swami Sarvottamananda Ji Maharaj to felicitate our chief guest, Professor Partha Sarathi Chakrabarti, Director of IIEST, Shibpur. Thank you, Maharaj. Now may I request Honorable Vice Chancellor Swami Sarvottamananda Ji Maharaj to deliver the address of welcome.
नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे. Revered Swami Suviranand Ji Maharaj, General Secretary of Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission and Chancellor of RKM Berry, Dr. Professor Partha Sarathi Chakrabarti, our guest in chief for today, Director of IIEST, respected Swami Atmapriyananda Ji Maharaj, our Pro-Chancellor, our Registrar Swami Kirti Pratadan Ji Maharaj, Kaleshan Ji and other distinguished guests. A very good evening to every one of you. I will just speak a few words about the topic of today's Foundation Day oration. Usually it is customary on the Foundation Day to talk about the vision, educational vision of Swami Vivekananda. So, all the orations that have taken place till now on the foundation days, all of them dealt with Swamiji's vision in some form or other. Nowadays, as you know, that National Education Policy 2020 has come out. So naturally, what is the impact of this policy, or how this policy can be implemented in the light of Swamiji's vision? This question can be asked, and we have to implement our vision alongside the national education policy. So that is why today's oration has been selected as Swami Vivekananda's educational vision in the light of the National Education Policy 2020. Though we hear a lot about Swamiji's vision, but in our young people's mind, usually there is a confusion, at least for those people who have just become acquainted with Swamiji's ideas. Because the Swamiji's books are so voluminous that generally we are lost in the oratory of Swami Vivekananda and do not know what his educational vision is. So time to time we have to tell you what are the distinguishing features of Swami Vivekananda's educational vision. Swamiji's educational vision is different from a vision. It has to include character building, man making education. That is the distinguishing feature. See, when we talk about a vision of anything, then it means that we are interested in what are the goals. Vision means we have to achieve some goal, and the means to attain that goal. So when we talk about educational vision, what we have to answer is what is our goal of what is the goal of education, and the means also. Definitely philosophical aspect, what is education, also comes into picture. So more or less, what is education, and what is the goal of the education, and how we can achieve it. So Swamiji's vision, it is not just that knowledge for the sake of knowledge, though people may find it difficult. But nowadays, in the modern times, you know that everything, in the world, in the life, the contradictory forces, the pure forces of education, of ideas, they usually don't work. See, all the it is a complex mixture of different types of forces, humanity, culture, nations, politics, everything is involved in the life. So our education cannot remain independent of everything. And Swamiji's vision has all the building things here, like man building, character building, then we have to have society building, national building, world building, and also we have to have humanity, like humanity is the main aspects. So in the modern global context, these things have to be incorporated in the education, and more the education philosophers, education psychologists, they are coming to this realization that our education, be it science and technological education or any other education, even practical, everything has to deal with our day-to-day problems, and it is closely, intricately mixed with our humanity, our daily problems. So that is why we have to look at some kind of holistic solution, holistic education. So it means, what it means in short is, so not just pure knowledge for the sake of knowledge, but knowledge should have a world building aspect to it. Like we have to have society building, nation building, like man building. So building means Swamiji always talked about the positive things. With this, I will finish my welcome and welcome everyone, all the audience who have come from very far, guests and our students. Definitely, I welcome all of you. Namaskar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, revered Maharaj, for throwing light on Swamiji's education vision. May I now request revered Swami Atmapriyananda ji to deliver his introductory remarks about Swamiji's university.
ॐ तं देशिकेन्द्रं परमं पवित्रं विश्वस्य पालं मधुरं यतीन्द्रं हिताय नृणां नरमूर्तिमन्तं विवेक आनन्दमहं नमामि. 4th of July, as we know, is the American Independence Day, and Swami Vivekananda strangely chose this day to enter into Mahasamadhi. And the American disciples of Swami Vivekananda were extremely fascinated about this particular day. So much so, Miss Josephine MacLeod was a very dear disciple of Swami Vivekananda, American, who chose to call herself a friend of Vivekananda rather than a disciple. She insisted, we have heard from the elders, the Swamis of our order, that the Vivekananda University project shall begin on the 4th of July. As all of you know, the Ramakrishna Mission does not in any way commemorate or celebrate the Mahasamadhi Day, because we believe that these great men live eternally and their passing away is only going from a gross body which is limited, which constrains their work, to a subtle body in which they can work faster and accomplish much more. As Vivekananda himself said, I may think it necessary to leave this body and throw it off his worn-out garment, but I shall not cease to work. I shall inspire men everywhere until the world shall know that it is one with God. So we believe that Swami Vivekananda is still present with us, watching us, guiding us, chiding us, awakening us from the slumber of ignorance in which we have been used to sleeping for millennia after millennia. That was the awakener in Swami Vivekananda. So I asked one of the very senior Swamis, who was no more with us, why was this day chosen? Because we do not normally celebrate the Mahasamadhi Day. Then he told me that it's because of the insistence of Miss Josephine MacLeod. Miss Josephine MacLeod wanted that this day should be chosen for the inauguration of the Vivekananda University. The seed of the Vivekananda University was sown by a resolution of the governing body of the Ramakrishna Mission and the Board of Trustees of the Ramakrishna Math in 1939, when the trustees of Ramakrishna Math and the members of the governing body of the Ramakrishna Mission decided that a Vivekananda University shall be formed, because Swami Vivekananda, as just now you heard, he said, combining or harmoniously blending the Eastern spiritual wisdom with the Western science and technology, we shall establish a university at Belur Math. And he also said, the spiritual impact which has come to Belur Math will last 1500 years and it will be a great university. Do not think I imagine it, I see it. That's what he said. So a resolution was passed in 1939 under the presidency of Swami Virajanandaji, the then president. He himself was a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. He had Mantra Diksha from Holy Mother Sharada Devi and Sannyasa Diksha from Swami Vivekananda. And Swami Madhavanandaji was the General Secretary. Swami Vireshwaranji later became the President, was the Assistant General Secretary. And the resolution said that we will start a college immediately. That idea again was given by Swami Vivekananda. 1897, when he returned from the West, he showed the yonder piece of land where the Vidyamandira College now stands. Here, boys will live in the Gurukula system, but only modified to the present conditions, and they will be taught Sanskrit, English, sciences, and they will cultivate knowledge in the old Gurukula system. So the Vidyamandira was established in 1941 following the resolution, and the hope was when the time is ripe, this shall become an independent university. Vidyamandira still is there. I was fortunate to be associated with Vidyamandira for nearly 30 years. This university came into existence, as you know, formally on paper by a resolution of the University Grants Commission in 2005, in January 5, when Holy Mother Sharada Devi's 150th anniversary was being celebrated at Belur Math. A notification was issued by the Government of India, the Ministry of Human Resources Development, presently called the Ministry of Education, in which they said the university, which is called the deemed to be university under Section 3 of the UGC Act, shall be established by Ramakrishna Mission, which shall be called the Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda Educational and Research Institute. Perhaps it was Holy Mother Sharada Devi who pleaded with Sri Ramakrishna, Norenir Name to university ar hobe na. So it came into existence. The history is very interesting. Swami Vivekananda made this pronouncement in 1902. Just a couple of days he passed away. Again on the day in which he passed away, interestingly, it didn't become a reality. Strangely and interestingly, as happens in our country. Again, the idea came up because when Swami Vivekananda said it has to happen. That was the deep faith which the monks had. So a lot of debate went on. The admirers, the devotees, the monks, the followers of Swami Vivekananda said, we have to have a university because Vivekananda said that there shall be a university. What kind of university do we require? A lot of debate once again went on. India, we are great debaters, but not doers. So went on debating what Swamiji wanted, a monastic university, it was a philosophical university, it was a religious university. The secular subject also should be taught and so on. Somebody said it shall be like Nalanda and Takshashila University Swamiji wanted. And there's a record in Swami Vivekananda's own life. Vrooman brothers, Swamiji said, we'll have a religious global university. So after all this debate, nothing happened finally. Again and again these come up and then again get drowned in the flow of the Ganges. Ganges flowed on and on. 1963, the centenary of Swami Vivekananda came. It is revived with great vigor. Now is the centenary time of Swami Vivekananda. We should establish a university now. Now is the time. Plans were drawn up and it was submitted to the government. A la Jadavpur University. We should have some kind of a university. And UGC had just been formed by an act of 1956. Education was just beginning in India on indigenous lines. And the government of India struck down this proposal, saying that we shall not have a university in any person's name, one. And secondly, individual initiatives shall not be entertained at the moment. Only the government will start universities. Great disappointment everywhere. Swami Vimuktananda, who was the convener of the committee which was formed at that time, to initiate and take forward this project to the university, became a very sad man, and later on he also collapsed. Felt extremely disappointed. Once again, disappointments everywhere. And they said, perhaps the university may not come up. Perhaps it may. But the deep faith in Swami Vivekananda's words, it shall come and must come, because Swami Vivekananda has said there shall be a university and there shall be a university. That was the faith. Again, lot of waters flowed down the Ganges. Ganges is a witness to all this drama. And again, 2004, another idea came. Sea changes have taken place in the higher education scenario in our country. The open university idea, the distance education have become the common run of the day. Suddenly an idea struck me. Why not have all the centers of the Ramakrishna Math and the Ramakrishna Mission as the centers of the university, with the Belur Math at the center? A kind of imagination, or a strong, vivid, imaginary vision, in which I saw with the Belur Math at the center, all the centers of the Ramakrishna Math and the Ramakrishna Mission, all the world over, will be centers disseminating the light of secular and spiritual education. Why not? So I wrote a paper, a concept note, in a mood of frenzy as it were, about 9-page note, and took it to the General Secretary of the Ramakrishna Mission, Swami Smarananandaji, the present revered, the President of the Order. And as usual, he said, प्रत्येक একটা নিজে নিজে একটা আইডিয়া নিয়ে আসে, এগুলো কি সহজ নাকি? Naturally, people keep on throwing ideas, and I'll tell you a secret. The secret of Ramakrishna Mission is, whenever some monk or a devotee comes up with an idea, they ask that person to execute it. It's very easy to talk about it, not execute it. As they say in English, it's very easy to ask anybody to do something as long as you don't have to do it. So you do it. So a committee was formed, I was made the convener, and we took it forward very strangely, and perhaps by the will of Divine Mother Sharada Devi and Swami Vivekananda himself. The government of India woke up. Within a couple of months, there was a decision by the government, which is very strange, that there shall be a deemed to be university. Once again, we were debating what were the subjects to be taught. We had no idea what subject should be taught. Again, we went to Swami Vivekananda. We will choose certain thrust areas for this university, and these thrust areas will be one gap areas, in the sense that these subjects are not dealt with any conventional universities in India. 2, Ramakrishna Mission centers over 100 years should have developed a reasonable infrastructure and resources to be able to teach these subjects. 3, they should directly benefit the common man, enhance the quality of life of the common man. Swami Vivekananda repeatedly said about education, what is the use of that education if it cannot help the common man and enhance the quality of life of the common man? He said poignantly and powerfully, so long as millions live in poverty and ignorance, I'll call every educated person a traitor, who, having been educated at the expense of the poor masses, pays not the least heed to them. So these are the 3 criteria. So we began with 5 thrust areas. One of them, the disability management and special education at Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu. We had a center which was nearly 30 years old. Infrastructure had been built up, because this is an area which will benefit the common man, the underprivileged, and the marginalized sections of society. The second was Indian spiritual heritage, where Swami Vivekananda himself said, I want to set in motion a machinery which will bring the great lofty ideas of our forefathers to the doorsteps of everybody. Indians are woefully unaware of their own great heritage, particularly the educated people. So we thought we should have a school of Indian heritage. As Swami Vivekananda said, the ancient and the modern should be harmonized. Alongside, we had a school of mathematical sciences, the 3 schools. And the 4th one we added was agriculture and rural development, because the center at Ranchi in Jharkhand and the center in Narendrapur in West Bengal, they have been doing this agriculture, rural development for several decades, almost a century. And the 5th one we added was environment and disaster management, because it was Ramakrishna Mission, Swami Akhandanandaji, who started this disaster management way back nearly 150 years ago, 125 years ago, and therefore we said this has to be addressed in a very scientific way. Later, recently, a couple of years ago, we had a school of biological sciences, because that is the in thing, thanks to the unstinting support of our revered Chancellor, Swami Suviranandaji Maharaj. This school has grown in a couple of years enormously. This is the plan which we began, and now we just began with 3 students in Sanskrit here. We also thought Sanskrit should be promoted in a big way. Unfortunately, in India, Sanskrit is the only language which is not taught in Sanskrit. So we thought the nonagenarians and the octogenarians among the scholars in Sanskrit who can speak it and then flawlessly write Sanskrit are going to pass away in a couple of decades. And it will be an unfortunate day and a sad day for India if we have to learn Sanskrit from Russia or Germany. The day may not be far off. Our vision was every year if we can produce at least 15-20 scholars who will be able to write in Sanskrit fluently and speak it. Then within about 10 years, we'll have a large pool of Sanskritists. And I'm very glad to say, by the grace of Swami Vivekananda, we have been able to achieve this. We started with just 3 boys from our Vivekananda Veda Vidyalaya in Belur Mutt, and now it has grown enormously. And the Veda Vidyalaya supplies with already trained students, and they are taught for 5 years integrated MA course. They go on to MPhil and PhD. Literally a Gurukula for about 14 years. When they come out, it's a joy to see them chanting Sanskrit, speaking Sanskrit, conversing in Sanskrit, discoursing in Sanskrit, and writing in Sanskrit. So this is the vision with which we started, the modern and the ancient. And the chariot of Jagannath is still rolling on. And we believe, as Swami Vivekananda said, it shall roll on for 1500 years. Why 1500? Somebody was asking me. Perhaps because Vivekananda will come again after 1500 years and then bring a fresh chariot, and then we will all be in the chariot. All of us, the faculty, the staff, the students, the parents, all the stakeholders are all travelers in this great chariot of Jagannath, which was initiated by Swami Vivekananda and the divine command of Sri Ramakrishna. So let us move on, roll on. Jayata Vivekananda.
Thank you, Maharaj, for your inspiring address. May I now request most revered Swami Suviranandaji Maharaj, the Chancellor of the University and General Secretary of Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission, to give his address of benediction.
नमस्ते यतिराजाय विवेकानंद सूरये सच्चित् सुख स्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे. Swami Atmapriyanandaji, the Pro-Chancellor of Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda Educational and Research Institute, RKMBD, Swami Sarvottomanandaji, the Vice Chancellor of the Institute, respected Professor Parthasarathy Chakraborty, Director of Indian Institute of Engineering, Science and Technology, Shibpur, brother monks and brahmacharyans, very, very distinguished gentlemen present here this lovely afternoon, learned members of the faculty, and very, very dear students. It's always a pleasure to address an enlightened audience like yours. Today, being 4th July, the day of Maha Samadhi of Swami Vivekananda, I choose to speak about that great voice without a form, which Swamiji Maharaj spoke about himself. He said, I am a voice without a form. Now I hope you allow me to narrate one or two very small incidents that I am personally a witness to you. Just on the eve of this pandemic, which means sometime in February 2020, January, February 2020, I got a call from Oxford University asking for an appointment. Who asked for this? One Mrs. Harris Ruth. What is her credential? She is the head of the Department of History in Oxford University. I gave a time, gave a date, she came. And then in course of our discussion, she is a researcher on Swami Vivekananda. So she wanted to have a talk with me and then have a visit to our museum and so on. Anyway, archives and museum. I asked, by the by, that Harris, how many people in Oxford do know Vivekananda? And Harris immediately told, Swami, you better ask me how many people in Oxford do not know Vivekananda. Everybody in Oxford knows Vivekananda. Today, Vivekananda is a name worldwide. And another incident, which is more striking, I feel that some of you may be very surprised to hear it, that I got a call from Calcutta around that time only, before this pandemic started. Well, somebody told me that Chinese Consul General of Kolkata want to have an appointment with you. So I gave a time and date, and he came, and he came with lot of tea packets. And their packages, they are very famous for their good packaging. So I jokingly asked him that, have you come here to market tea? He told, no, I have come here to market Vivekananda. And I have come here at the instance of the highest leadership of my country. And what it is all about, I asked him. He told that, look, we have a very big problem being faced by our leadership today inside China, and this is values crisis. And Swami Vivekananda is the greatest philosopher in the eyes of the Chinese, in the whole of Asia continent, and he is one of the very, very celebrated personality to the Chinese as well. As a matter of fact, we have learned socialism not from Karl Marx or Lenin. We have learned socialism from Swami Vivekananda. And which is why our leadership feels that this values crisis, if we can provide a package of Vivekananda to our young boys and girls studying in universities and colleges, well, we may be able to overcome this imminent danger. This is number two. And about 8 years or so back, I went to London. I was to speak. I spoke at Logan Hall of London University. And hall was packed. And it was obviously about Swami Vivekananda. And then what I am trying to tell you is, what surprised me, that after a speech of mine and then followed by another Swami of Germany, there was a tea break, and after tea break, there was to be a concert by one of the very famous musicians of our country. Unfortunately, he is no more now, Bapi Lahiri. And everybody thought, the organizer also thought, that it will be a very good relief for the audience, because serious discussions are going on. And the British people, for that matter, maybe that will feel bored with this serious discussion going on all through the day. But the surprise of surprises was that when Bapi and his boys went to the stage, slips after slips, 25% of the total composition, if I am not wrong, among the listeners in the audience, was the British young boys and girls. And they sent slips after slips. We have come here to hear about Vivekananda. We don't want to listen to music. The pressure was so much so that our Atmapriyanandaji knows Ram Saha. He went and begged apology from Bapi, gave the remuneration, and asked him to pack up. And Bapi had to. And Bapi was accompanied by one tableist from Kolkata, Mr. Mitra. I will not tell the full name anyway, you will recognize. So he also had to wrap up. These three striking incidents will certainly be a good signal to those who are students of Vivekananda, seekers of Vivekananda, or for that matter, should I say, even at this stage, agnostic about Vivekananda. Vivekananda himself told that had there been another Vivekananda, he could have understood what this Vivekananda was. We are dwarf, but as a dwarf, we try to catch the moon, which is why we meditate, we contemplate, we think about Vivekananda. And in our own way, as our metabolism permits, we try to understand Vivekananda, interpret Vivekananda. So what is this? Swamiji himself said, I am a voice without a form. One of the best examples of Swamiji's saying, which bears testimony to the truth that I am a voice without form, I think is perhaps this university. Swamiji passed away on 4th July 1902, and Swamiji descended on earth on the same day in the form of Ramakrishna Advaita Ashram in Varanasi. And then Swamiji's second child, of course, is Ramakrishna Mission Vidyamandira, which was again on 4th July in 40th decade. And then this is also on 4th July. Now I remember, once Sri Ramakrishna was in Panchaboti, and Ramchandra Datta, one of his devotees, you all know about him, maybe you have heard about him, and he went. And then Sri Ramakrishna told in Bengali, Ram, tumi ki ikir-mikir kocho? What nonsense you are doing. Then Ramchandra told that, sir, I thought whatever you are telling in my presence, I should record it. And Sri Ramakrishna told, no, absolutely not. There is someone else meant for this. And aim came later on. Vimuktanandaji, Punnanandaji, Lokeshwaranandaji, these great stalwarts tried to see that this university comes into existence. The attempt started even before the centenary of Swami Vivekananda. But it didn't bear any fruition. The attempts were not fruitful for one reason or other. How could it be fruitful? Swami Purnanandaji, Vimuktanandaji, Lokeshwaranandaji were very great stalwarts. We are all dwarfs before them. But Sri Ramakrishna or Swami Vivekananda, so to say, Swami Vivekananda is the alter ego of Sri Ramakrishna. He kept one person called Atmapriyananda. He will do this, and he has done this. And that's why I say that when we speak of this great saying of Vivekananda about himself, I am a voice without a form, I always remember these three institutes that Swamiji is still living in the cosmos. But from a very narrow point of view or very strict point of view, Swamiji at least is living through these institutions, of course, in the organization called Ramakrishna Sangha. So now also Swamiji's voice has tremendous impact on our people. Swamiji's voice had tremendous impact on the people immediately after his demise also. Even amongst the contemporaries also goes without mention. But then, what exactly Swamiji wanted to mean? What was the message Swamiji wanted to convey to you and me? The people who have come and gone back, people who will come in future, for them, what is the message Swamiji wanted to convey through this half sentence? I am a voice without a form. As I have told you that had there been another Vivekananda, he could have understood what this Vivekananda has done. But still, we do try to find out in our own way, in a very limited space, to find out. We try to find out what exactly Swami Vivekananda meant by these words. Swami Vivekananda himself, as I have told you, said that he would like to come out of this cage of flesh and blood. He has told explicitly, and scattered the spirit all over the world. He would go on inspiring men and women. He also said that he would go on doing this as long as every man and every woman in this world realized that he or she was Brahman. He even said he wouldn't seek salvation as long as single being in this country, means India, remains disturbed. He said, Bani tumi bina pani konthe mor. In Bengali he said, Bani tumi bina pani konthe mor, which means you are in my voice and Mother Saraswati speaks through my words. Today, the world knows and admires Swami Vivekananda in different roles: a prophet, poet, patriot, organizer, orator by divine right, awakener of souls. We can go on and on. Even his closest disciples saw him in their own light. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Master Mahashaya described him as the bubble that had risen up in the ocean of Sachidananda and assumed a human body to propagate the message of Sri Ramakrishna. Sister Christine eloquently wrote, I quote, he was not of this world. He was a radiant being who had descended from another, a higher sphere for a definite purpose, unquote. To some, he was the embodiment of power. To others, he was love, love, personified. Some bowed down and worshipped him as God, and he was the warrior monk to some others. But who is really Swami Vivekananda? Probably only his guru Sri Ramakrishna knows it. In the beginning of 1894, after the great success of his lectures in America, Swamiji had written to Swami Ramakrishnanandaji, I quote, I am an instrument and he is the operator. Through this instrument, he is rousing the religious instinct in thousands of hearts in this far-off country. Thousands of men and women here love and revere me. He makes the dumb eloquent and makes the lame cross mountains. I am amazed at his grace. Whichever country I visit, it is an uproar. Swamiji says, they have named me the cyclonic Hindu. Remember, it is his will. I am a voice without a form. How was that formless power? Miss Laura Glenn, later known as Sister Devamata, who heard him in New York, gave an account. Quote, I'm quoting Laura Glenn, Devamata. He began to speak, and memory, time, place, and people all melted away. Nothing was left but a voice ringing through the void. It was as if a gate had swung open, and I had passed out on a road leading to limitless attainment. The end of it was not visible, but the promise of what it would be shone through the thought and flashed through the personality of the one who gave it. He stood there, prophet of infinitude. Sister Nivedita, on hearing Swamiji for the first time in London, wrote, I again quote, the feeling that the great music wakes in us, grows and deepens with its repetition. Sister Christine, who went to hear Swamiji in Detroit Unitarian Church, she writes, one felt that one never knew what music was until one heard that marvelous voice. Sister Nivedita also recorded her unforgettable experience of Swamiji's lectures in New York. She said, they are mistaken who say that a voice is nothing, that ideas are all. For this, in its rise and fall, was the only possible music to the poetry of words, making the whole hour a pause, a retreat in the marketplace of life, as well as a song of praise in some dim cathedral ell. Unquote. Miss S.C. Waldo, another disciple of Swamiji Maharaj, who had recorded the inspired talks, she, the teachings, Swamiji's teachings at Thousand Island Park, wrote of her experience. The Swami didn't appear to address us directly, but rather seemed to be speaking to himself in words of fire, as it were, so intense were they, so eloquent and convincing, burning into the very hearts of his listeners, never to be forgotten. We listened in utter silence, almost holding our breath for fear of disturbing the current of his thoughts or losing one of those inspired words. A 19-year-old girl, an eyewitness to the incident of Swami Vivekananda facing Christian missionaries in Northampton town in USA, recounted, I quote, the face with its inscrutable expression, the eyes so full of flashing light, and the whole emanation of power are beyond description. How could one expect a Hindu from a far off India to hold his own with this master, though he might be of his own learning? Was it that his words found an echo in my own longings, or was it merely the magic of his personality? I can't tell. I only know that I felt triumphant with him. To me, that night, he personified power. That's what Waldo says. Whatever success that he had achieved in life, whatever that was good in him, he attributed to his master. The power behind me is not Vivekananda, but he, the Lord, and he knows best, was his constant refrain. Swamiji once confided to Brother Monk that during his lecture tour in America, he shouldn't visit, or, during the lecture tour in America, he sometimes received direct instruction from Sri Ramakrishna. I repeat, Swamiji told one of his brother disciples that during his lecture tour in America, he sometimes received direct instruction from Sri Ramakrishna as to which places he should or shouldn't visit. Knowing this, we can be sure that he was being literal when he wrote on May 28, 1894, to Alasinga Perumal, one of his very favorite disciples. I quote, I do not know when I am going back to India. It's better to leave everything in the hands of him who is at my back directing me. And again he writes, I am in his hands. I will go back to India when I get a command. In America, sometimes Swamiji would feel exhausted of the new ideas to be given on the next day's lecture due to his regular and extensive lectures. Then at night, a voice would replenish that void by continuously speaking on the topics of the next day. That voice used to be so tangible and loud that once a gentleman staying in a room adjacent to Swamiji asked him in the morning that with whom he was speaking to at night. The voice was of none other than Sri Ramakrishna, and in the next day Swamiji used to gauge the audience with those ideals. Evidently, Swami Vivekananda was the voice of Sri Ramakrishna. This can be established from various incidents of their lives. Let's now have a look at those. Before their appearance in the mundane plane in the sublime transcendental realm, Swamiji, a meditating rishi, foremost among the 7 rishis, followed the voice of Sri Ramakrishna, who as a child told, I am going down to the earth. Won't you come with me? And the rishi nodded in affirmation. Once Narendra, the pre-monastic name of Swamiji was Narendra, as you know. Once Narendra was hesitating to have a puff from the same hubble bubble from which Sri Ramakrishna used to smoke, and so on. So Sri Ramakrishna had an exchange with him, and then he wanted to impress upon him that Narendranath and Sri Ramakrishna both are one. Both are one. They are the 2 sides of the same coin and 2 petals of the same flower. It was in the year 1887 that Holy Mother Sri Sharada Devi, after a pilgrimage, went to Kamarpukur. One day she had a vision. Naren standing under a peepal tree, and after some time he merged into the body of Sri Ramakrishna. She got surprised and asked Joginma to bow down and take the very dust of that particular place. Thus, the identity of Thakur and Swamiji was revealed to Holy Mother. Later, she asserted Naren is an instrument of Thakur. He has made him write all these things so that his disciples and devotees could carry out his work for the welfare of the world. Whatever Naren says is true, they will fructify in time. And Holy Mother had an extraordinary vision in Nilambara Babu's garden house. Holy Mother was here for a couple of months, and then Holy Mother had an extraordinary vision that she saw Sri Ramakrishna appearing on the Ganges, and then Sri Ramakrishna's body is getting dissolved in the water of the Ganges, and then alternately Swami Vivekananda appears, and Swami Vivekananda is sprinkling the Ganges water to the mankind and granting salvation to everyone. Swami Premanandaji, the strictest follower of traditional forms of rituals, was the priest of Sri Ramakrishna's temple and also the manager of Belur Math then. Once at the time, Sri Sharat Chandra Chakraborty, his disciple, a devoted disciple of Swamiji, worshipped his Guru's feet with the flowers arranged and kept ready for Sri Thakur's worship. And Premanandaji was very, very orthodox about Sri Ramakrishna and puritanic in his way of life. And naturally, Swamiji told his disciple, look what you are doing. The flowers that have been kept for worship of the Master, you are giving those flowers, offering those flowers at my feet. And Baburam is coming. Baburam was the nickname of Swami Premanandaji. And you see, he will rebuke you, he will take you to task. But when Premanandaji really came and heard everything about it, Swamiji wanted to preempt it. So naturally, for preemption, Swamiji himself narrated this to Baburam Maharaj, so that Baburam Maharaj doesn't, take this boy to task. So then, Baburam Maharaj, contrary to Swamiji's expectation, told, you should give more flowers from this plate, because there is absolutely no difference between Swamiji and Thakur. In reply to the letter of the Maharaja of Khetri in 1895, Swamiji wrote from America, one voice has spoken, whose echoes are rolling on, gathering strength every day. It was the medium of Swami Vivekananda, through which the voice of Sri Ramakrishna echoed. Swamiji declared unequivocally, I quote, while I am on earth, Sri Ramakrishna is working through me, have no doubt. One day at Kashipur, Sri Ramakrishna gave him the power accumulated by his own sadhana, remarking afterwards, O Naren, today I have given you my all and have become a fakir, a penniless beggar. By the force of the power transmitted by me, great things will be done by you. Only after that will you go where you came from. Swamiji wrote to Swami Ramakrishnanandaji in 1895, I quote, know for certain that the work done by me is not the work of Vivekananda. It is his work, the Lord's own work. If one Governor General retires, another is sure to be sent in his place by the emperor. Gradually, his earthly form started limiting all his expansive heart to reach out every corner of the world, to commune with every suffering man in any part of the world in such a way that is beyond the grasp of the common understanding. He couldn't do this with the formless entity of his ethereal spirit. Once a volcanic eruption took place near Fiji at the dead of night, which caused death and terrible suffering to countless people. Swamiji woke up suddenly from sleep at 2 a.m., as if in a jerk, since he felt pain in his heart. He said to Swami Vijnananandaji, I quote, I was sleeping well, but suddenly I felt a sort of shock and woke up. I am sure there has been an accident somewhere in the world and that many people must have lost their lives. The year 2020 will be remembered by the humanity as a nightmare because of COVID-19. This has left in its trail a vast devastation, procession of corpses, crash in the financial market, hunger, unemployment, and so on. In a similar scenario, Ella Wheeler Wilcox, America's well-known poet, wrote about the impact of Vivekananda's words. What she wrote? It was that terrible year of financial disasters when banks failed and stocks went down like broken balloons and businessmen walked through the dark valleys of despair and the whole world seemed topsy-turvy. Sometimes after sleepless nights of worry and anxiety, the man means Mr. Wilcox, the poet's husband, as she referred to her husband in that way, man, would go with me to hear the Swami lecture, and then he would come out in the winter gloom, walk down the street smiling and say, it is all right. There is nothing to worry. Worry is over. And I would go back to my own duties and pleasures with the same uplifted sense of soul and enlarged vision. Needless to say, Vivekananda was not an ordinary man. But is that towering personality of immeasurable height still standing beside us? He himself promised that he will not cease to inspire me. Towards the end of his worldly play, we got the assurance of his ever-present benign support. It may be that I shall find it good to get outside of my body, to cast it off like a disused garment. But I shall not cease to work. I shall inspire men everywhere until the world shall know that it is one with God. All morality and spiritual struggles are aimed at breaking down the false individuality, the sense of separateness from the whole. Identify yourselves with the ocean and not with the wave, is the clarion call of Vivekananda. It is an invitation for everyone to transcend the limitations of their material trappings and stake their claim to their spiritual heritage. Don't be a tiny, puny wave that may disintegrate at any moment, that may be overpowered by a bigger wave at any moment. Renounce your limited name and form and own up your unlimited nature. This is the message of Swami Vivekananda that comes out of the statement, I am a voice without a form. Sister Nivedita, with her profound wisdom and spiritual insight, inherited from her master, Swami Vivekananda, in 1906, wrote to Josephine MacLeod. Our Atmapriyanandaji was speaking about Josephine MacLeod. Nivedita writes, you see, when we who understand Swamiji and remember him are dead, there will come a long period of obscurity and silence. For the work that he did, it will seem to be forgotten until suddenly, in 150 or 200 years, it will be found to have transformed the West. We saw it, a slice of it we experienced in the sesquicentenary of Swamiji, 150th birth anniversary of Swamiji, how the world stood up to give ovation to this man. Now we can clearly feel that what Nivedita had prophesied 4 years after Swamiji's demise, now seeing the light of the day. Truly, their voice has not stopped working. Passing the momentary lull, his ideas are rising up. From undercurrent flow to the visible stream that are gaining strength by day, the power of his thoughts has permeated the whole world, and with the passage of time, he is being increasingly acknowledged as one of the molders of the modern world. It is bound to happen, because a form is always destructible, whereas the formless is beyond creation and destruction. It is eternal. Form may decay or grow according to the need of the time, but the voice remains timeless. Voice remains limitless without form. A university at Belur was Vivekananda's prophecy. Swamiji attained Mahasamadhi on 4th of July, as you know, in 1902. But even after that, Swamiji Maharaj is amidst us in his subtle form. Regarding establishment of a university at Belur, Swamiji said he didn't imagine, he saw. Swamiji's vision has come true. Swamiji is still inspiring us. Swamiji wanted a university at Belur Math, and there is a university today. Something like, let there be light, and there was light. Well, we must reserve our appreciation for Swami Atmapriyanandaji, as I have already mentioned, that he was earmarked by Sri Ramakrishna for this beautiful work. And, or Swami Vivekananda, maybe Swami Vivekananda marked him for this great work, thought of and dreamt of by Swamiji himself. And then, and his dedicated team, Swami Atmapriyanandaji, we compliment, all kudos to him, but then his dedicated team, right from the inception of the university till today, he has got wonderful monks and brahmacharis from time to time. I am one who works in the headquarters, and I have the feel how each center, we have 310 centers all over the world today, including the satellite centers or sub-centers, what you call. Then each center, how it is functioning, and what is the relation of the head vis-a-vis his, colleagues, and so on. Everything we can understand sitting at the headquarters. And I have no hesitation to say that this university is there for almost 18 years now, 17 years. And this is one center where from we usually do not get a letter asking for change. And that bespeaks simply of the leader and the team. So the team must be dedicated, leader must be dedicated, then only it's possible, which is why. Pardon?
You supply these people.
We supplied, true, but you made them fine. We supplied, but you made them fine. you chisel them. And that's why I must compliment again Swami Atmapriyananda ji and his dedicated team. And fortunately, if I am not wrong, Swami Sarvottomananda ji is one who is with Swami Atmapriyananda ji almost from the inception. So I must congratulate the Vice Chancellor of the day, Swami Sarvottomananda ji also. And I only pray to the spiritual trio that they profusely shower their choicest blessings on every person associated directly or indirectly with this great institute. This institute is 17-year-old, and it is very closely, following Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, in gradation. I am right, Atmapriyananda? So I was speaking to Tatas the other day informally that, we have another similarity. Swamiji spoke of two universities, two institutes of science, one in Bengaluru, yours, and another in Belur, ours. And you will be very happy to know, very glad to know that within such short span, a decade and a half maybe, that this university is very closely following your university, which is more than 100-year-old. We are very happy to know that. So once again, I pray to Sri Sri Thakur, Ma and Swamiji that you all are blessed with their choicest blessings, and may all of you be happy, and all the best to all of you present here this beautiful afternoon. And I must thank Swami Atmapriyananda ji for having given me this beautiful opportunity to be here and share some of our thoughts on this historic day, 4th July, when Swamiji left his mortal coil. And we do not usually celebrate Swamiji Mahasamadhi Day. This is a question. A few months back, Shankar, the literature, who is Calcutta Sharif, he wrote an article and he also questioned why this is not done. No, this is not done. Atmapriyananda ji knows, he can tell you better. We do not want Swamiji to see or remember in that state. Likewise, Thakur also. We do not preserve the Thakur, where Thakur is being carried to the Kashipur Mahashwasan. So that day we don't want. We want that Swami Vivekananda who is inspiring us, who is blessing us, who is guiding us, who is supporting us, who is helping us every moment of our life. And which is why we do not usually celebrate this 4th July, but Vivekananda University was born on 4th July, which was why this day is celebrated here. And another reason why any photograph was not taken when Swamiji was cremated, perhaps again the same reason, that we didn't want to have a memento which reminds us about this particular moment when Swamiji has left his mortal coil and physically is taking leave of this mundane world. Swamiji is there. Swamiji is immortal. Swamiji is with you. Swamiji is with us. Which is why we don't have this photograph, nor do we celebrate this occasion. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity and also giving me a patient hearing.
Our humble pranams to revered General Secretary Maharaj for his very, very inspiring and enlightening speech. May I now request the Registrar of the University, Swami Kirti Pradhanandaji Maharaj, to present the updated profile of the university describing its academic activities as on 4th July 2022.
ॐ नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे. At the outset, I offer my humble pranams to revered Srimad Swami Suvirananji Maharaj, the Chancellor of our university and the General Secretary of the Ramakrishna Math and the Ramakrishna Mission worldwide. My pranams to revered Swami Atmapriyananji Maharaj and Swami Sarvottamananji Maharaj, the Pro-Chancellor and the Vice-Chancellor of our university respectively. My pranams to all the revered monastic members who are with us here today physically and also who have joined us in the virtual mode. I offer my loving namaskars to the chief guest of today's function, Professor Parthasarathy Chakrabarty, Honorable Director, Indian Institute of Engineering, Science and Technology, Shibpur. My loving namaskars to all the teaching and non-teaching staff members who are with us here today, who have joined us virtually from our off-campus centers as well. I offer a very hearty welcome to all the guests who have joined here as well as who have joined us online. And I heartily welcome all our students from all our off-campus centers as well as the Belur main campus. Swami Vivekananda once wrote to one of his Western admirers, as was quoted by our Chancellor Maharaj recently, that it may be that I shall find it good to get outside my body, to cast it off like a worn-out garment, but I shall not cease to work. I shall inspire men everywhere until the whole world shall know that it is one with God. And it was on this day, the 4th of July 1902, that Swamiji chose to cast his mortal coil off like a worn-out garment. On the very last day of his life in his mortal frame, Swamiji said, "Rooted in the ancient Indian spiritual ideal and blending it harmoniously with modern science and technology, we should establish a university at Belur Math. This university, this temple of learning, christened after the hallowed name of Swamiji, came into existence on the 4th of July 2005, and today marks the completion of the 17th year of its establishment. It has been our constant endeavor to impart education in this university as envisaged by Swami Vivekananda himself. In his own words, education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. Education is not the amount of information that is put into one's brain and which runs right there, undigested, unassimilated throughout the life. What we want is man-making, character building, assimilation of ideas. According to Swamiji, the real education is one by which character is formed, the strength of mind is increased, the intellect is expanded, and by which one can able to stand on one's own feet. Real education brings a balanced development of head, heart, and hands. Head to think, heart to feel, and hands to work. In this university, a humble attempt is made by the Ramakrishna Mission to actualize the vision of Swamiji. The vision and mission of the university are delineated to be in tune with Swami Vivekananda's educational vision. The vision and the mission statement of the university reads as following. The vision is to be a great center of learning, blending the twin excellences of ancient Indian wisdom and modern scientific knowledge, imparting life-building, character-making education. And the mission is a threefold one. One, pursuit of excellence, to strive for excellence in teaching, in research, and in all academic endeavors. Two, blending of the Eastern and Western values, to inculcate ancient Indian values like Shraddha, purity, truth, selflessness, harmony, and peace, blending them with predominantly Western values like scientific temper, rational outlook, technological efficiency, teamwork, professional integrity, work ethics, etc., in order to create a band of educated youth with lofty character and integrated personalities with harmonious development of heart, head, and hand, faculties of feeling, thinking, and willing. And 3, social responsibility, to train and educate the youth to become socially responsible citizens, to collectively rebuild a rejuvenated, glorious India by first of all building an impeccable, lofty character at the individual level. The various thrust areas of the university, as Swami Atmapremanandaji Maharaj already has told you, that are operationalized through specialized faculty centers located at the various Ramakrishna Mission centers, which have developed expertise in these areas. These centers are known as off-campus centers, which are approved by the University Grants Commission and the Ministry of Education, formerly known as Ministry of Human Resource Development. As of now, the university has its off-campuses at Coimbatore, Ranchi, and Narendrapur, apart from the Belur main campus. Let us look at the thrust areas of the university. 1. Indian culture and spiritual heritage and values education. 2. Fundamental science education and research, focusing on mathematical sciences and biological sciences. 3. Disability management and special education. 4. General and adapted physical education and yoga. 5. Integrated rural and tribal development and management. 6. Agricultural research and education. And 7. Environment and disaster management. The National Assessment and Accreditation Council, NAAC, has accredited our university with the highest possible grade of A++, with 3.66 cumulative grade point average out of 4. As revered Chancellor Maharaj was just telling, Indian Institute of Sciences, Bangalore had got 3.67 out of 4, just 0.01 more than us. So now, let us see a brief overview of the various schools, faculties, and departments spanning across the various campuses. At the Belur main campus, under the School of Mathematical Sciences, we have the departments of Computer Science, Physics, and Mathematics, each of which are running postgraduate and PhD programs. Under the School of Rehabilitation Sciences and Physical Education, we have got the Department of Sports Science, which runs MSc in Sports Science and PhD in Sports Science. Under the School of Indian Heritage, under the Department of Sanskrit and Philosophy, we have got integrated MPhil and PhD in Sanskrit and Philosophy, and a 5-year integrated course in Sanskrit, a 5-year MA. This is what Swami Atmapremanandaji was talking of. In this course, Sanskrit is taught in Sanskrit medium only. This is the perhaps only institution where Sanskrit is taught in Sanskrit medium. Oh, one of the several institutions. Okay. Then we are in the division of yoga. We have postgraduate diploma in yoga, MSc or MA in yoga, and PhD in yoga. Now, I'll show you some of the pictures from the Belur campus. This is the central administrative block called the Medha Bhavan. This is the Pragya Bhavan, School of Mathematical Sciences and Indian Heritage. This is Atma Vikas, Sports Science, Yoga and Fitness Center. This is the Akhandananda Bhavan, Staff and Scholars House. This is the Premananda Bhavan, Faculty and Scholars House. This is the Science Students Hostel, Vijnanananda Bhavan. This is the Sanskrit Students Hostel, Ramakrishnananda Bhavan. Now we move on south, Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu. Under the School of Rehabilitation and Sports Sciences at Coimbatore, we have Faculty of Disability Management and Special Education, which runs these programs. Integrated MPhil, PhD in Special Education, MEd in Special Education with specialization in visual impairment, hearing impairment, and mental retardation. MEd integrated in Special Education in intellectual disability, and BEd in Special Education in the above three streams. Then we have got the Faculty of General and Adapted Physical Education at Coimbatore, which runs the MPhil PhD program in Physical Education. We have got Master of Physical Education MPEd, Bachelor of Physical Education BPEd, and BSc in Physical Education. Under the School of Agriculture and Rural Development, we have got the Faculty of Agriculture Research and Education, which runs the BSc Honours Program in Agriculture. And under the School of Mathematical Sciences, we have got the Department of Computer Science and Application, which runs the integrated MSc in Computer Science and Applications, MSc in Data Science, and BCom Honours, specializing in Business Analytics. This is the administrative building of the Faculty of Disability Management and Special Education at Coimbatore. These are some of the activities of FDMSC, working with specially able children. And these are the activities of the Unified Play Day. This is a very unique concept, Unified Play Day, in which the specially able children, they are mixed with normal children and they play together, and through various therapies, the best out of them is brought out. This is the main building of the Faculty of General and Adapted Physical Education and Yoga. These are the various sports facilities available there. Indoor badminton courts, tennis courts with the ball machine, cricket ball machine, and this is the latest addition in our infrastructural facilities in Coimbatore, Vivekananda Inclusive Sports Complex, which was inaugurated just 10 days back. Now we come back to West Bengal, the Narendrapur campus. Under the School of Agriculture and Rural Development, we have the Faculty of Integrated Rural Development and Management, which runs PhD courses in Agriculture and Rural Development, in Agricultural Biotechnology, in Agronomy, and in Genetics and Plant Breeding. MSc programs in Agriculture and Rural Development, in Agricultural Biotechnology, in Agronomy, and in Genetics and Plant Breeding, and postgraduate diploma in post-harvest and food technology. At the Narendrapur campus, under the School of Environment and Disaster Management, we have got MSc and the PhD programs in Environmental Science and Disaster Management. Both these programs are being supported by the European Commission in a collaborative venture through a MOU signed with them. The School of Biological Sciences, which was an addition to our university last year, runs the MSc in Medical Biotechnology and PhD in Medical Biotechnology, in Microbiology, and in Immunology. These courses are conducted at the Narendrapur campus in collaboration with our hospital center at Ramakrishna Mission Seva Pratishthan, Kolkata. These are some of the pictures of the Narendrapur campus, the main building. This is the field work. Now we go to Jharkhand, the Ranchi campus. Under the School of Agriculture and Rural Development, we have the Faculty of Integrated Rural and Tribal Development and Management, which runs the program of PhD in Agriculture, Rural and Tribal Development, and a 2 years MSc in Agriculture, Rural and Tribal Development. The other courses in the Ranchi campus are a 5-year integrated MSc in Agriculture, Rural and Tribal Development, a 2-year MSc or MA in Rural Development and Management, BSc Honours in Agriculture, Bachelor of Vocational in Sustainable Agriculture, and Postgraduate Diploma in Rural Development Practices, a 1-year course. These are the pictures of the Ranchi campus. Now let me talk something about the centers under the different schools, which are independent. A center for study and research on Vedanta and yoga under the School of Indian Heritage called Viveka Vyasa, Vivekananda Vedanta Yoga Adhyayana Samshodhana Alaya. Viveka Chataka, a center for consciousness research under the School of Indian Heritage, Vivekananda Chaitanya Tattva Anusandhana Kendra. Viveka Jeevan, a center for research in biological sciences under the School of Biological Sciences, Vivekananda Jiva Vijnana Anveshana Niketan. We are contemplating to have some more centers under our university. Those are Center for Artificial Intelligence and Effective Computing, which will be spanning across all the schools. Center for Nonlinear Dynamics and Chaos under the School of Mathematical Sciences. Center for Humanistic Sciences and Humanitarian Studies under the School of Indian Heritage and the School of Environment and Disaster Management. Center for One Health, as the concept of One Health is picking up. Actually, One Health initiative is a collaborative, multi-sectoral and transdisciplinary approach with the goal of achieving optimal health outcomes, recognizing the interconnection between human health, animal health, plants, and their shared environment. So, under this center, which will fall under the schools of Biological Sciences, School of Agriculture and Rural Development, and the School of Environment and Disaster Management, all the research initiatives regarding One Health will be undertaken. Now, let me talk something about the chairs instituted in the university. We have got 3 chairs instituted with our university. Swami Vivekananda Chair in Environment and Disaster Management. This was instituted by the West Bengal State Government. A chair in Inclusive Adapted Physical Education and Yoga was instituted by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, the Educational, Scientific and Cultural Wing of the United Nations. And the third chair was Swami Abhedananda Chair, instituted by the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. So the focus of the Vivekananda Chair on environment and disaster management are as follows, as is mentioned in the screen. The activities of the UNESCO Chair under the General and Adapted Physical Education and Yoga are as follows. And the activities of the Abhedananda Chair are mentioned over here. Now let us see the statistics of the university in a nutshell. The 3 off-campus centers, 1,619 students on roll, 129 teachers, 315 non-teaching staff, 9 UG programs, 4 integrated PG programs, 19 postgraduate programs, 15 PhD programs, and 3 postgraduate diploma programs. Now, apart from the core academic activities of the university, we also conduct some extension activities. Those extension activities are certificate courses in Indian spiritual heritage, diploma courses in various subjects, Viveka Disha, an ICT-based network, and Krishi Vijnana Kendra. These are the name of the courses which we run under the Indian spiritual heritage. The second extension activity is Viveka Disha, which is an ICT-based network of the university that provides online education primarily to school students and also conducts online programs on Indian culture and spiritual heritage. The online education program of Vivek Disha are run in 25 remote schools and are monitored from the university's expert center at the Belur main campus. The next extension activity is Krishi Vijnana Kendra. Krishi Vijnana Kendra, or KVK, is a project of the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICAR, which is the apex body for coordinating, guiding, and managing research and education in agriculture in the entire country. It aims to work for the benefit of the farmers to make available the discoveries made by the scientists in their labs to the farmers in their lands. Our university has been allotted 3 KVKs by the ICAR, out of which 2 are functional at the moment: Satya Shamala Krishi Vijnana Kendra and Dhanya Ganga Krishi Vijnana Kendra, the former at Narendrapur and the latter under the aegis of Sargachi Ashrama. Before I wrap up with the presentation of the profile of the university, I would like to share with you all that in order to combat the unprecedented situation in the recent times owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, our university, with collaboration with Karuna Trust at Bengaluru and Vivekananda Swasthya Seva Sangh at Kolkata, had undertaken free COVID-19 Covishield vaccination campaign. We held free vaccination camps at multiple venues in which around 6,000 people were vaccinated. And these are the schedule of the vaccination camps that we conducted. The beneficiaries from the university community from these camps are the students residing in the campus, the residential teachers, the non-teaching staff along with their families, and other local people attached to the center. And the beneficiaries among the public at large primarily include the frontline public service providers like post office and bank employees, petrol pump workers, auto rickshaw, toto and minibus drivers, vegetable sellers, milk vendors, construction workers, newspaper boys, tailor, tea shop, and hotel workers. So that was the report regarding the vaccination campaign of the university. Let me show you some of the pictures. So that was the brief profile of the university till date. I would like to conclude with a few words to our students present here with us today, both in physical mode and the virtual mode. I would like to share with you some of the inspiring words of Swamiji. On this occasion of the university's foundation day, remember that Swami Vivekananda had high hopes from you all, the youth of this great nation, that you will play an important part in rebuilding India, and you will actively contribute in the process of national rejuvenation. So please keep in mind these inspiring words of Swamiji. Swamiji said, "The longest night seems to be passing away. The sorest of trouble seems to be coming to an end at last. The seeming corpse appears to be awakening, and a voice is coming unto us, gentle, firm, and yet unmistakable in its utterances, and is gaining volume as the days pass by. India, this motherland of ours, is rising from a deep, long sleep. Never is she going to sleep anymore. No outward power can hold her back anymore, for the infinite giant is rising from a deep, long sleep. Let us all work hard, my brethren, and see her seated on her eternal throne, rejuvenated, more glorious than she ever was, this motherland of ours. Men, these are wanted. Everything else will be ready. But strong, vigorous, believing young man, sincere to the backbone, are wanted. 100 such, and the world becomes revolutionized. So be bold, be strong, take the entire responsibilities on your own shoulders, and know that you are the creator of your own destiny. All the strength and succor that you want is within you. So arise, awake, wake up yourselves and awaken others to achieve the consummation of human life before you all pass off. Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapyavaran, Nibodhata. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Thank you all. Namaskar.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the detailed description of the university and its activities. Now we are at the point of hearing the Foundation Day oration by our chief guest, Professor Parthasarathi Chakraborty. He will be delivering the Swami Vimuktananda Memorial Lecture on Swami Vivekananda's educational vision in the light of National Education Policy 2020. Before his lecture, I would take the liberty to briefly introduce him to you. Professor Parthasarathi Chakraborty is the first full-time director of Indian Institute of Engineering, Science and Technology, that is IIEST, formerly known as Bengal Engineering College, Shibpur. He took charge on 10th of May 2018. Before this assignment, he was the director of National Institute of Technology, Allahabad from 2011 to 2016, and he was also the professor of Department of Electronics Engineering at Indian Institute of Technology, Varanasi, that is IIT BHU. Professor Chakraborty is an experienced researcher in the area of microelectronics and photonics. At NIT Allahabad, he has established two important centers: the Center for Interdisciplinary Research for carrying out multidisciplinary research and the Center for Medical Diagnostics and Research for promoting research in the field of life sciences with emphasis on human health. He has been guiding students. So far, 20 students, including one foreign student, has received PhD under his guidance. He is an active researcher with over 300 research papers in leading technical journals and conference proceedings. He has organized a number of international conferences and delivered numerous keynote speeches and invited talks. Professor Chakraborty obtained his BTech and MTech degrees from the University of Calcutta and his PhD in Electronics Engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, BHU. He is a recipient of the Indian National Science Academy Visiting Fellowship and from the Department of Science and Technology, and he is also a fellow of the Institution of Engineers and a senior member of IEEE USA. We are really fortunate to have Professor Chakraborty amongst us today. I now request him to deliver the Swami Vimuktananda Memorial Lecture on Swami Vivekananda's educational vision in the light of NEP 2020. Sir.
A very good evening to all. Let me pay my homage and respectful regards and pranam to Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Mahasarada, and Swami Vivekananda. Swami Suvirananda Ji Maharaj, the Chancellor of the University and the General Secretary of Belur Math, Swami Atmapriyananda Ji, Pro-Chancellor of the University, Swami Sarvattananda Ji, Vice Chancellor of the University, and Registrar Kirtipadananda Ji. My pranam to other Swamijis various dignitaries present here, my beloved students. It's an honor and privilege for me to be here on this grand occasion and deliver Swami Vimuktananda Ji Memorial Oration on the occasion of the Foundation Day of this great seat of learning. You know, the advantage of speaking at the last is that lot has already been spoken, so hardly there is anything for you left to be spoken. But I have been given this responsibility to tell you or speak about Swami Vivekananda's vision of education, his concept of education vis-a-vis the National Education Policy 2020. So, I'll begin with a small preamble because I think time is not much there left. So, small preamble saying that what was Swamiji's concept about education. And you know, there are several quotes which are very, very common and you have heard it number of times. But when Swamiji tells something, by this time all of you know that when he says something, understanding Swamiji is not that easy, right? There can be number of interpretations of Swamiji's sayings. And it's like something you read in Vedanta or Bhagavad Gita, and there are several interpretations. So what Swamiji actually wanted to say, it depends. He said education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. I believe that there are, every human being, you'll find that you have a lot of faculty inside you, right, which are probably covered by some kind of ignorance. And once you remove that, right, then you get that what is the actual knowledge. And education actually precisely does this job. You have all the faculties. Somebody is very good at music. Some is very good at sports. Some people are very good in your mathematical calculations, numbers, etc. They're very good. Right, so all you need to do to sharpen these faculties, right, through education. Now, sometimes we try to mix up what is knowledge and what is the formal education. When we talk about universities, most of the universities, what we do, that we give you formal education, right? You know, what is knowledge? Knowledge is much bigger than formal education. What is this knowledge? Knowledge is something which is boundless. Right, as Newton says, it's a boundless ocean of truth, which lies undiscovered before me. So that's actually knowledge. And what's the supreme knowledge? Supreme knowledge to know who are you, who am I. And that's the supreme knowledge. Once you get, you are out of the world and you have gained everything, knowledge. But a formal education is little different from that. So I'll talk mostly about formal education and not these high philosophies of Vedanta, which very little I know as compared to the Swamijis who are present here. I'll not, but I look at Vedanta from my scientific researches. When you get stuck in a problem, then it forces us to go back and search the answer in Vedanta, and which most of the scientists have realized, right, that probably scientists like Niels Bohr and others mentioned that whenever they do not find any answer to their questions, they say that you refer back to Vedanta. So great is the knowledge which is in Vedanta. So what Swamiji intended, he wanted that we should have a kind of education which will maintain the harmony between our traditional knowledge, Indian traditional knowledge, and then the Western scientific and technological knowledge. So we should make a perfect blending of these two aspects. Then you get a proper education. A very crude example could be preparing a blending of tea which contains Assam tea for your liquor and flavor from Darjeeling tea. You mix up, blend it in such a way that you make a perfect tea combination. So education will be something in that way which will combine both. Unfortunately, because of this colonial rule, we were uprooted, we are disconnected, disjointed from our ancient knowledge. So that is what is something which is needed to get back into. When these educational institutes in India, all these universities were created, even if I go back to our own institution, which was famous as Bengal Engineering College, which is more than 165 years old institute and second oldest institute in the country, technical institute in the country, which was established as a civil engineering department in 1856. So the objective of the institute, which was created initially for the British people, was to save money on bringing your engineers all the way from United Kingdom and bring here to get. Say there are jobs like draftsman's job, overseer's job. So bringing engineer all the way will be difficult and expensive also for them. So they thought that why not to create some institution where we can get the local people trained and then we can use them for our own purpose. In the process, gradually different universities, primary objective was that to get manpower who are trained and who can do the job for them. But in the process, this country created numerous scientists, educationists of those times. And the biggest threat came to the colonial rule because of education. They then wanted to dethrone this British Empire. And they thought that this colonial rule should come in. And that's the power of education. When you get educated, then you understand. So that is what we gained in the process. But the damage they did, they disconnected us from our root. And because of this disconnection, they said that what you talk about your own treasure of wisdom and knowledge is all rubbish. What we say, the West, the science and technology, you should learn from them, not your own. So this is one of the biggest problems, that we prepare so-called trained manpower, skilled manpower, but the real education we are probably not able to impart. And what is the novelty? Now I'll speak more about, because Swami Vivekananda's vision about education has been discussed by all Swamijis in a great extent. And I'll connect that, what was Swamiji's and what are the challenges we are facing, what was Swamiji's concept of education, probably in 21st centuries and coming years, when he says 1500 years, a pretty long time, and how the whole thing will shape. I'll try to connect them. What I like most about this national education policy, the new education policy which came after more than 3 decades, that it talks about for the first time to connect you to your roots. Your ancient knowledge, that's a treasure. So they want to connect it. And if we can do that, probably our education will be complete education. Why I say so? Why this is very, very important? Because the purpose of education is not only to give you some good number of information or train you for certain skills. It is much more than that. As Swamiji himself has said that it's a building of character. When I studied in Calcutta University, I have seen that these are buildings and some kind of administration which is ruthless to the students, and everything is imaginary. Who is the vice chancellor, who is the registrar, you cannot see them. But when I reached Banaras Hindu University, I understood that what university is. And if there is any single university which has some resemblance or connection with Vivekananda's vision of education, is Banaras Hindu University. And Madan Mohan Malviya has followed this same thing. So when I come here and see that these Vedic chants and mantras and other things, I have seen this very much in Banaras Hindu University. And when you used to see in the PhD committees and the faculty from Sanskrit, they used to explain everything, read out everything in Sanskrit. That kind of experience, as fortunate, I considered myself blessed that I was a part of Banaras Hindu University. And how difficult it was in its time to create a university which will have the name Hindu. So it was so difficult, and Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya wrote a note of dissent, which was some 50 pages note of dissent he wrote when they had an objection on this word, picking up Hindu University. And I also too had something very, very religious university. But you get inside the university, you see all the modern things which are simultaneously existing with the traditional knowledge. It's really had been a very good experience. And that personally also I'm a big supporter of connecting this, our ancient wisdom, to the modern technology and science. And we need universities which will be exactly like this. But because of this education system, colonial education system, we have created a class of people in the society who tends to disown everything which is Indian. Swamiji was the other day telling about that some people are by compulsion as if they are Indian. They disown everything, your culture, your wisdom, knowledge, Sanatana Dharma. They do not believe in anything, right? And I consider them, they are really, really unfortunate that they could not feel the taste of this Indian knowledge. There is a famous song by Rabindranath Tagore, though it was written in a different sense, but it applies aptly to this kind of people which has been created by this colonial education system. I'll just quote it. আপনি কেটেছে আপনার মূল, না জানে সাঁতার নাহি পায় কুল, স্রোতে যায় ভেসে ডোবে বুঝি শেষে, করে দিবানিশি টলমল. This is the situation of this kind of people who has lost their root, connection to their Indian system and values, right? So they have just educated for the sake of, they got some degree, a piece of paper, which gives them a decent job. But they are disconnected with this country heritage. So this is one point I like about the new education policy, or the National Education Policy 2020. Second aspect, we used to complain a lot about our existing education system, and because you have very limited choice, right? So immediately used to come in class 9 or 10, then you will be asked to, you'll be compartmentalized, that you become a commerce student, you become a science student, or you become humanities students, art students. And you were forced to select your subjects from the baskets, where science has certain basket, humanities has certain basket, but you cannot take a combination of different subjects according to your likings. So that kind of flexibility was missing in our earlier education system. But this new education system, the policy, is much more flexible, that you can select any subject of your choice. You can have physics as a major subject, you can take music, you can take sports, or anything you like, or any humanities course you can take and have a degree. So this kind of flexibility, it's an enormous flexibility, which was never been there in our education system. So this is one good part of this new education policy. Plus it gives many more flexibilities in the sense that in our institute, those who come for engineering students who are joining our institute, some of them in between face some problem, financial problem because of death of this bed earning person in their family. So they want a break. Or some people after some time they think that no, I should go for some job, and again if I feel, then I'll come back and join the program. So this new education policy gives you an option for multiple exit and multiple entry into a program. So this is an enormous flexibility. So they say that suppose you do a course for 2 years and you want to take a break. So you are allowed to get out with a certificate. Then if you complete 3 years, you will be allowed that a diploma will be given to that. And then after some time, going for a job and you want to come back again and complete your degree, that also you can do. And after 4 years, you will be given a degree certificate. So this kind of multiple entry and exit in a program has been made. And in the new education system, we have the Academic Bank of Credit, ABC. Academic Bank of Credit is like just like your bank savings bank account where you put your money, you withdraw your money. So it's like all the credits you earn in the process of doing various courses will be credited in that account. And you can use those credits for getting a diploma or a degree, or you can deposit it, take a break, after 3-4 years you come back, complete the course, complete the required number of credits and get out of this. So this kind of flexibility. So this is enormous flexibility. So now we cannot complain that anything which is bad which is happening is because of the education system. So it's not that. And this flexibility, because we have a mindset of people have a mindset saying that education means it should be some formal courses and subjects, right? Physics, chemistry, mathematics, or economics, any courses you like. And your parents will say, don't go for playing outside. You have joint entrance examination, or you have higher secondary examination, or you don't play music now. This is not the time for music. But music, the recent research is showing that your cognitive ability increases if you practice music. And the same thing is true for Vedic chants and slokas when you read. That also enhances your cognitive abilities. So these are certain things which I think in the back of the mind, those who have framed this education policy closely matches with the Vivekananda's idea of education. Now we'll come to some points which I like to mention, which I have experienced while heading 2 institutions, technological institutions. The students go through serious problems which are related to their mental problems, kind of depression they face. And this is happening why? Because the parents train their kids in such a way that each becomes a selfish individual in their life. The parents will tell you that from beginning that you must get entry into a good engineering institution or a good medical institution or something like that, professional course. And if you are not succeeded, then you are good for nothing. And many students are committing suicides and other things. I have seen students who have come in the institution who confess that we are never interested to become a mechanical engineer. Our parents forced us to. So it is the peer pressure and the parents. All of you advise others, but when it comes to your own kids, then you tend to forget and you put them under pressure that they have to qualify. What's the reason? That in the society I cannot show my face if you cannot get through JEE or you cannot get into a good medical institution, kind of thing. So the kind of pressure we are putting. So education has never been something which is passion driven earlier. But now this education policy gives you an opportunity to be a passion-driven education you can have. You choose any kind of subject you like and study those. So this education system, new education policy talks about emphasis on your digital education, and the use more of digital platforms for using. And last 2 years during the COVID period, you have seen the positive sides of digital education and the negative side of it also. We had a very peculiar problem. Most of the universities have faced this kind of problem. I do not know, Belur was an exception probably. That switching over from online to offline mode. Students have developed a peculiar psychology of coming back to the campus, because if you cannot come back to the campus, you lose a lot of things, right? Mixing with your friends, going to hotels, restaurants, and spending time, music club, drama club, this club, that club, you enjoy everything. But when it comes to examination, they make sure that we will sit in the online examination. Because technology has advanced so fast now that in moments they share the question, and in WhatsApp and other, and the answer of everybody is same. The teachers used to come and complain that, sir, all the answers are same, similar, so how can I judge? So everybody is A+, right? Same. So, yeah. Online and offline. So everybody had a tough time. Then, because that this was never, they didn't enjoy this education. No, that they know that. You know, in technology, if somebody takes admission in metallurgy, mining, electronics, everybody has coding sikhata hai. Is an institute teaching you coding, because coding job is there for coding. So everybody wants to learn coding. So that's the objective. The job is in the IT sector. So irrespective of which discipline you are, everybody wants a job in IT. So related subjects they are interested, and the seniors teach them and how to get a job. They get a good job like this. But that's not the purpose of education probably. But the positive side of digital education we have seen. I myself taking classes in the digital mode. I do not see that it is very difficult to reach out to the students. If the students are sincere, they can connect, and one-to-one interaction is also possible in the digital mode. And I make it compulsory that you'll have to switch on your video also. It's not only that you switch off the video, and so everybody will have to switch on the video so long I'm in the class. So that way there are certain positive things, and online meetings are also very, very successful, effective. It saves a lot of money and a lot of time for the people. So these are the positive sides. But the most dangerous side of this tiny technological device, mobile, is very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Dangerous means because you do not have any privacy. You do not have any privacy, because Google knows that when you are going to board the flight, when you are going to check in a hotel, when you are going to come back to your office, you may forget certain things. Google will remind you, you have a meeting now at 3:30. So this is a severe compromise. And whenever we are very happy that we get things free of cost. Google is giving free email and facilities, Google Drive, all these we are using. Nothing is coming free. Nothing is coming free. Right? So you are being used by those companies. So this is a dangerous trend which is going to come, and each of us should be very, very careful about it. And that's why a complete education is needed, and which will be a part of your ethical part, and your character building. Character building is very, very important. We never take it seriously. We listen to from one ear and allow it to pass through the other. It really doesn't make any impact on this. How important is your this character and ethics? We teach ethics, we teach moral, but it really does. It's just passing the examination. You pass the examination and forget. But you'll have to inculcate it in such a way that it will be a part, because you are never taught like this. Your parent says that, no, don't share your class notes with others. Don't tell others what you are going to do, right? So you'll have to rise to the top, right? So the group work, the teamwork, everyone wants to defeat the other. So we are becoming, we are creating some people, particularly those who are in professional courses. They are very, very selfish, very, very selfish, and they do not have any idea about the real India. They have not seen India. So they live in a kind of illusion. We say that they live in a virtual world. Real life they have not seen. And regarding virtuality, another interesting thing is that will make some sense in a place like Belur Math, where so many Swamijis and there. What is this world which we are living in now, presently? We say it's a virtual world. But Vedanta says that what you see does not exist. According to Vedanta, no, this is all Maya, this is all illusion. So if it is all illusion, then the world itself is virtual, right? You have Brahman, Atman, and in between is Maya. Everything is Maya. So we are already in a virtual world. On this virtual world, you have created another virtual world, which is the digital world. So it's a super virtual, something super virtual. So see that what life we are living now. Right? We have disconnected, disjointed. You have your own world in this tiny device. Right? You get glued to this. You search one page. From that you enter into another page and get completely lost and forget about what is happening elsewhere. So this is not the objective of our education. Right? So this is a very, very, very serious issue we need to. So we must make use of, judicious use of this bad, very, very bad device. And it's not only that, there are many serious issues which are coming. We talk of education, we talk of knowledge. Knowledge is for its own sake, not for earning money. But the world is becoming very, very commercial. It's true, at the end of the day, without money, nothing moves. Anything moves? No. Right? You have to have this money for these lamps to light, these ACs to work. You'll have to pay the electricity bill. So the world is run by money. But now a time has come where everything is packaged and commercialized and being sold to you, even in knowledge also. Right? You see that those who are doing PhD must be knowing that these journals where you publish your paper, they are doing a big business. Many of you will not be able to see it apparently. Even if I publish my paper, once it is published, and if I want to access this paper, they say that you pay $10, $15 for accessing this paper. And for if you want to see others' paper, so it's a big business people are now doing. And particularly in the coming days, this is I do not know whether everyone will agree with me or not, but I see in the coming future, two industries will grow very fast and they will probably rule the entire world. And one is your IT industry, be very careful about that, IT industry. And the second is the pharmaceutical industry, which is going to kill this mankind. If your human race is distracted ever, these two companies will be responsible. And they will make sure, they will decide the political scenario of the country, who will become the president, who will become the prime minister of a country, and they create public opinion. It is so powerful, you cannot imagine that how powerful it is this. Whenever you get a message or information in the internet, in Facebook or something, you tend to believe it without verifying the authenticity of this. When you hear something from your guru, you know that this is truth. You never question it. But what you learn from Google Guru is not authenticated. That you must remember. And what we do, we pass on this message to numerous people, forwarded many times. Right? This way, sometimes wrong information we propagate without knowing. And the kind of things which are happening now in the country and other places, is because of this. So it is so powerful. It creates a public opinion. Look, I want to prove this person bad. And I can do it using these IT facilities. So it's dangerous. And second, that when you forget about your own knowledge and wisdom which you had, take for example yoga. How many of you practice yoga every day? Most of us, we do not do. We celebrate Yoga Day, International Day of Yoga, and that's one day we practice. Right, we do not practice. Right, Ayurveda, how many of you follow Ayurveda? We do not follow. Right, practice, we go to doctors. But the kind of racket which is going in this medical thing also, this is also very, 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 very alarming. Very, very alarming. The purpose of this was not that doctors are to serve the mankind. Right, we have seen doctors who have given their life without really asking for anything. But now situation has come where the doctors are involved in rackets which sells your organs, human organs, and medicines company, pharmaceutical companies. I was talking to Sarvottomanandaji, Vice Chancellor, and talking to that. The COVID also. COVID, if you analyze this COVID, I see that it's a big kind of racket or scams of some. After 10 years or 15 years, you'll see a Hollywood movie probably made on COVID. How this thing came and what kind of business these pharmaceutical companies have come. You'll be really surprised to know that these people are making all of you diabetic by bringing down this value of the sugar level in persons, value of the cholesterol level in person. The value which was very high earlier was brought down by the pharmaceutical pressures because of the pharmaceutical companies. Right. And we say that sometimes it is very alarming. India, 50% people will become diabetic. Right. And the value which was 150 mg per deciliter has been brought down to 100 by the pressure of these pharmaceutical companies. All these vaccines which are given to you without having the trials, proper trials, could be dangerous. There are many heart failures of younger people. A group of scientists believe that because of administration of these vaccines which have some kind of blood clots in those people. Because you need to know the vaccine cannot be created. Your past history will say that in 1 year creation of vaccine and this thing is not possible. So we became the trials were made on human being. So there was a cartoon where the rats were saying that this time we are safe. They are using human being in place of rats for trial. So this kind of things you have to be very, very careful. So ethics is a part which should come in the minds of this. You know, one young engineer of IIT BHU lost his life because somebody was doing manipulation in the tendering process and he protested and he was killed on the spot. Because he had that ethical value. He came from BHU. So he had that ethical and the moral value. But society didn't allow him to live. So if you want to bring a change, awareness, we need many universities of this kind which is established in Belur Math and the principles and ideology of Swami Vivekananda. We want many such universities. Universities are not degree making machines where you come and after certain number of years you get a degree and you get a decent job. That's not the purpose. We want to create human being, right? Human resources for the country, will serve the country. This is very, very important thing. Another point which I'll touch upon is also very important is in the national education policy. For quite some time we were talking about your innovative research. One thing is that they said that new education policy, that interdisciplinary research. So in the interdisciplinary research, because we always say that problems which are actual practical problems never belong to a particular discipline, right? So practical problems cannot be a problem of electrical engineers or mechanical engineers or like that, computer engineers. So practical problems which involves knowledge in all fields, particularly in those days where a lot of biosensors are developed. So there was a time when engineering students used to believe that biology is not our cup of tea. We used to undermine or look down upon this subject called biology. Now it is an essential subject for the engineers also, because after end of the day, the purpose of technology is to improve the quality of human life. But I will not get into the debate that whether it is really improving the quality of human life or they are driving us towards a disaster. That is a separate issue. But innovative research, interdisciplinary research is one thing, that all will come under one roof and solve a practical problem, which is very much needed. And a lot of institutions, IITs, IC Bangalore, other institutions have created this kind of facilities where they work on practical problems. Second thing is that what is important for the country, and education policy also talks about it, is the entrepreneurship, which is very, very important, right? And create startups, right? Every engineer, particularly those who are qualified engineers from IITs or NITs, everyone should not run for jobs. So they should try to create jobs for others. Entrepreneurship or startup, this is very, very important. And this innovation cannot come at the college level, university level. So it has to be inculcated right in the school days, as our former president APJ Abdul Kalam used to say, and he used to inspire the students in the school itself and tell that our thinking should be innovative in a manner. So we should learn to think out of the boxes, right? That the traditional, always we believe that something has been done in this way, and we believe that we can improvise this and think in this direction. No, there can be an alternative path of doing it in a much better way. So that innovative approach, indigenous approach, has to come. And if it is not there, we have two kinds of advancement. One will be sustain your progress, that in a particular direction it is moving. And another is the disruptive kind of technology which breaks the conventional way of doing things and do something in a very, very innovative and different way. And this COVID has created a lot of opportunities for doing that. This entire COVID situation, it was devastating, it has killed so many people, but it has created opportunities for many people. Right? Those who see that how we can devise things and exploit this situation to make business. And many successful businesses have come. And I do not know many of you, whether you know or not, there is one Corona Guard. Corona Guard is a kind of device which creates an environment which is negatively charged environment, right? So high energetic particles are emitted from that. And that negative charge destroys the positive charge of the protein which is there in COVID virus and neutralizes it. So it's Corona Guard. It is sold as Psychocan. So this device was invented by one of the Indian scientists, and it was patented in US and marketed in India and many places, including my office. I was very curious about to know about this, and I came to know many banks and other organizations, restaurants, they have installed this Corona Guard. So I gave it as a challenge to my faculty members that you test it and prove it really does work. But for testing coronavirus, you need a level 3 lab, which we do not have. But I said that you try with other viruses or E. coli and other things, that this kind of thing really works. But you see that in this kind of situation, how this situation has been exploited to make a business out of it. Every people cannot see business in everything, but there are people who can see money in everything, whether it's a disaster or something positive. So that attitude has to be there. And I do not know the reason why in India we little shy away from commercializing something, my ideas, which was prevalent in Western countries many years, centuries back, right? You know that there are famous stories of Sir J.C. Bose. When J.C. Bose invented these radio waves, and he was demonstrating, and one person came to J.C. Bose. He said that, please don't disclose your ideas in this meeting. Right? There's a lot of money which you cannot see, but I can see. I'm a businessman, I can see. So I want 50% of that royalty, right? And you file a patent, and then J.C. Bose said, no, nothing doing. I'm going to present it, because knowledge is for knowledge sake and it's not for commerce, business. And later on this found that person was Marconi's telecom company. He was a partner of Marconi Telecom company. So this was the kind of things we had. But all inventions you will find, even in telephone invention, telephony, the credit went to Graham Bell, but at least 20 people claimed that simultaneously they have invented telephony. And Bell Telephone Laboratory had to fight 650 legal battles to prove that Graham Bell is the inventor of telephony. So all electronics, you will see that there are occasions where two persons have reached simultaneously same time at the patent office to file their patent. So that kind of their awareness was there, that they used to see the money involved in their invention. I gave you one example, and J.C. Bose has very few, your 1904 one detector he made, and that also because of inspiration from Sister Nivedita. Sister Nivedita, he filed the patent, and Sister Nivedita used to correct his manuscript many times because a native English speaker, so she used to correct, and she helped, and she used to inspire that we should go for filing patent, and what is the importance of filing patent. And now you see that in India we are organizing program on intellectual property right now to create an awareness. So whenever I go to this kind of program, I say how long this awareness will continue to create. Those who want to file, they're filing their patents, and you are creating in the name of awareness, you are this kind of enjoyment. One day seminar will be there, somebody will give talk, and end of the day no patent will come. So this is very important, and younger people who have new ideas of you invent anything new. So never shy away from filing the patent and commercialize it. It will not only help you, it will help you creating job opportunities for others. And many of the things which you use today without knowing has come from small startups. They are not big companies. One big example is your personal computer. The giant computer companies never thought that a day will come when everyone will require a computer for its own. But today everyone is having a laptop. Almost everyone is using a laptop. So they thought that one computer will be one setup for an organization. So how many computers you can sell in the whole world? But there was a small startup, they started this business. After that, a lot of companies jumped into this. Oh, I have crossed much more than the time allocated. So teachers have the problem that when they start, they do not know where to stop. And when they start talking, they think that everybody sitting in front is the student. Unfortunately, that's not true. So I think that I will not prolong it. So I just conclude by saying also one thing, that we should not be in the rat race of creating that increasing the number of gross enrollment ratio, right? So people are in a rat race of creating. So Swami Vivekananda has talked about mass education, women's education, mass education, reaching to these underprivileged people. These are the things which we need. So in other countries, this community colleges are there where they get. So this purpose of this education is not to create postgraduate and PhD holders who will sweep the floors. That's not the objective. So higher education, there must be some kind of restriction. Those who will come out of their interest should be allowed to undertake a higher education, not in the name of gross enrollment ratio. You allow everybody to pass. And if higher education is little bit expensive, one should not mind. In foreign universities, you have seen that after completing the school, they work in your restaurants and other places, earn some money, then go to universities. Now higher education should be limited. I am a professional, maybe a medical person or an engineer. I am interested in Indian philosophy. You charge me because I can pay. So you charge me more and give me an opportunity to study those subjects. So education should be like this. It should not be wide open that anybody who is not interested, not getting a job, get into a postgraduate study or a PhD. That should not be the objective. I think I have crossed all the time limits. And before you say that you must stop, I conclude here. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Now the vote of thanks will be delivered by Swami Kaleshanandaji Maharaj, Controller of Examinations.
Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityur Ma Amritam Gamaya. I offer my pranams to Sri Sri Thakur, Ma and Swamiji. Very good evening to all of you present here. And it's a pleasure to offer vote of thanks. First of all, at the very outset, I will just offer my pranams to revered Swami Suviranandaji Maharaj. He is the Chancellor of this university, as well as he is the General Secretary of the worldwide Ramakrishna Mutt and Ramakrishna Mission. Maharaj has given that benedictory address in which he mentioned the importance of Swami Vivekananda and still how he is influencing the other countries also, especially China, Great Britain, etc. And in our courses also we are having the aspects of Swami Vivekananda in the form of value education. So the world is just adopting the ideas of Swami Vivekananda. So we should also adopt Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda is not dead. Physically he may be not here, but he is a voice without form and his lectures are there, and we should adopt that spirit of Swami Vivekananda in us, so to develop ourselves and to develop the society. Next, I just offer my respectful pranams to respected Swami Atma Priyanandaji Maharaj. He is the Pro-Chancellor of this university, and he was also the Vice-Chancellor for the first 15 years from the inception of this university in 2005. He had just nurtured the university from the very beginning and put it in a very stable footing. Now we are having NAC A++ grade, and our financial stability is also there. So he's the man behind the whole thing, that he nurtured this university for the first 15 years, and now also he's steering the university to put it in a great height. He has become one with this university. I offer my humble pranams to Maharaj, and he has given that address, introductory address about that university, especially how it has started. The initial days he has narrated. It is very interesting, and we thank Maharaj for that. Now I would like to express my gratitude to Professor Partha Sarathi Chakravarti, Honorable Director of Indian Institute of Engineering, Science and Technology, Shivpur. He has delivered a very wonderful lecture. It is very touching. It is very practical. And some of the points I want to mention, of course, I give thanks to him. Some of the points he mentioned is that we should not lose our root to our heritage, Indian heritage. It is very important, it is very precious, and it is developed over hundreds and thousands of years. It is also a knowledge. Don't think that it is not knowledge. When you are just studying any science or arts or whatever may be, you are acquiring knowledge. In the heritage, what we are gaining, it is the knowledge. It is called Paravidya. So we must not forget that one. And he just pointed out that our National Education Policy 2020, that Swami Vivekananda's educational vision that can be implemented through it. So first of all, we must not forget our cultural root. It is very essential. It is not formed over a year or 10 years or 100 years, for thousands of years we have developed it. We should preserve it, and it is for the happiness. It is for our own benefit. And second thing, he talked about that flexibility in the NEP, National Educational Policy 2020, and to choose the courses, and it is very important that he told that in earlier days we could just choose some of the courses that is already designed, or some options may be there. But nowadays that the government has given the scope that a student from science or mathematics, he can go for yoga, for Sanskrit, some other courses also. So somebody talked about that holistic education. So that can also be built through these options we are having, but students would have that knowledge that which courses we should take, and have that enthusiasm to choose that one. So from the students should be made educated about that. Otherwise, why should they choose that particular courses that will develop their character? So that is very important. The flexibility is given there. So it is cafeteria-based system in which you can choose any course and you will add to your credit. That is very important. And third one is that he talked about that multiple exit and entry point to a program. So Swami talked about lifelong education, and Sri Thakur, Sri Ramakrishna Deva, he also talked about that lifelong education, Jabat Bachi, Tabat Sikhi. We are not only teachers, at the same time we are students also. When you are talking to others, we are teaching others, we are teachers, but other times also we are just students. So lifelong education should go on. It is from the formal side also, informally also, we should learn, and there are so many sources are there, especially now education has become to a great extent digital. In future it will be much more digital. So we should learn from that also. And education is for empowering ourselves and to control nature, internal, external. That's what we talked about. And we should just take help of this digital education. And he talked about that holistic education, including digital education. That holistic education means total development of character. In our that inner faculties, we are having that our ego, that intellect, our mind, and our sanskaras. So when we are just getting education, we must develop all these four faculties, what Swamiji talked about, that holistic education. And in nowadays, there are very great competition, and people are just want to get some job and earn money, and they are forgetting that humanistic aspects. And he talked about that digital education. It is called virtual world. It can be just compared with the virtual world, and can be compared that with Maya also, in which avidyamaya is also there, vidyamaya is also there. If avidyamaya, you are just getting more attached, you will be just like asura. Asura is just, they live for themselves only, they don't live for others, and they harm the society. So we must not develop ourselves asuras. The great doctors are there. If they are not developing their characters, so they will be like asuras. So he talked about those things, that people are now becoming much more intellectual, but if they are not just developing the viveka, then they will become not that beneficial to the society. It will be the bane to the society, harmful to the society. And fifth, he talked about the character building education. That is the heart of Swamiji's education, that one should build one character. That's very important. That education is for that our happiness, and highest happiness we can get from knowing our swarupa, our reality. So he talked about that one. And sixth thing, he talked about that quality of human life, and that interdisciplinary research. So that is very important. And nowadays research is going on, and we have to either search or research. Search means you must know yourself, that who you are, So that is one thing. And research means whatever that in your formal education, what you are getting, that you should just take into account. And he talked about that informal education in which we are just thinking about that our information and skill. That is very important. I am not denying that fact. But he also talked about the knowledge, and the knowledge it must lead to character. And it should be, and from that wisdom should be generated, and ultimately supreme knowledge should be gained. We must not limit ourselves to certain extent that I am with knowledge, I am gaining some skill and information, I am earning money. But we should go beyond that. We should develop our character, and we must make ourselves happy. Happiness does not come from that money and other earnings. So this is very important, and supreme knowledge, that is the ultimate goal. Everybody should have that one, and that is freedom, and that is knowledge only. And we are just trying for knowledge, but we must take that full advantage of that whole course of knowledge, not a partial knowledge, but the full knowledge. And he talked about also that entrepreneurship development and startup, that is very important, and innovations that is required. Swamiji also talked about that one, and that he talked about that we are having the potential. Only thing is that fear, we must tackle that fear. We are having the fear that we cannot develop one startup, etc. We are going for that some job, etc. The slave mentality already is there. We should get rid of that one. Swamiji talked about that one, and as a university, the Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda Education Research Institute is striving for these goals only. We are also, whatever Swamiji talked about these things, that the potential divinity is already in us, and we should just unfold it, and unfold it through that formal education as well as that informal education, whatever we are having, especially the education related to our mind, spiritual education. That is very important. Sometimes we don't bother because spiritual education, it does not give money, etc. We cannot earn money, but that day has gone. Now also that Professor Chakrabarti talked about that. We must have that capability to just, that marketing capability we should have. With that, for example, yoga, etc., it can be marketed, and you can get lots of money. That is also important. But money making is one side. Apart from that, we must live for others. We must develop as a humanity, as a whole. We must not live only for ourselves. So be and make, Swamiji talked about that one. So we must develop ourselves totally as a total human being, and must have the highest level of happiness. When you are having highest level of knowledge, you can have highest level of happiness. And if you are having that partial knowledge, you can have partial happiness. And happiness is our goal, highest happiness, and it can be gained through that highest or supreme knowledge. So a big thanks to our chief guest, Professor Parthasarathi Chakrabarti, for his deliberation. Now I would like to offer my pranams to our revered Swami Sarvatmanandaji, our Vice Chancellor. He talked about that character building education. That is very important. In different universities, education is just given, but in most of the cases, that character building aspects are just ignored. But here, our Maharaj is very much focusing on the character building education. Of course, we are just a practical example of that man making and character building. We are not simply talking, we are also just demonstrating it. And I thank Maharaj for his deliberation. And next, I would like to thank Swami Kirtipadananda. Big thanks to Swami Kirtipadananda, who has just showed us that different academic activities as well as allied activities of our university up to date. And next, I would like to thank Swami Samarpananandaji, Swami Devatwanandaji, and Murali Maharaj, others who are there, who are not visible, but who are working for the food and logistics, etc. They are arranging that one. So, of course, I must thank them. And I would like to thank that ICT team, who is just under the guidance of our Dhyanagamanji Maharaj, and who are just webcasting the whole program and reaching that greater audience. I would like to thank Japa Siddhanandaji, Siva Purnanandaji, and other monastic members, the Brahmacharis present here, for their august presence. I would like to thank them. I would like to thank our faculty members and students. They are very, very important, and I will take this opportunity to thank them for their contribution in the field of that administration, then education, research, and extension. For the whole year, they are doing great work. Of course, I thank them. They are the pillars of the universities, and they have come here. They are just listening or watching this program. In fact, I am very much grateful to them also. And last but not the least, I would like to thank the august audience because of their presence, and they have made this program much more meaningful. So thanks to the great that august audience. And I would like to thank everyone. Thank you all, and namaste.
मूर्तमहेश्वरमोज्ज्वल भास्करमेष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् मूर्तमहेश्वरमोज्ज्वल भास्करमेष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् वन्दे वेदतनुमोज्झितगर्हित काञ्चनकामिनीबाधम् वन्दे वेदतनुमोज्झितगर्हित काञ्चनकामिनीबाधम् मूर्तमहेश्वरमोज्ज्वल भास्करमेष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् कोटिभानुकरदीप्तसिंहमहो काटितटकोटिनवान्तम् कोटिभानुकरदीप्तसिंहमहो काटितटकोटिनवान्तम् अभिरभिहोङ्कारनादितदिङ्मुख प्रचण्डताण्डवनृत्यम् अभिरभिहोङ्कारनादितदिङ्मुख प्रचण्डताण्डवनृत्यम् मूर्तमहेश्वरमोज्ज्वल भास्करमेष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् मुक्तिकृपाकटाक्ष प्रेक्षण माघदलविदलन दाक्षम् कृपाकटाक्ष प्रेक्षण माघदलविदलन दाक्षम् बालचन्द्रधरमिन्दुवन्द्यमिह नौमि गुरुविवेकानन्दम् बालचन्द्रमिन्दुवन्द्यमिह नौमि गुरुविवेकानन्दम् मूर्तमहेश्वरमोज्ज्वल भास्करमेष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् वन्दे वेदतनुमोज्झितगर्हित काञ्चन कामिनीबाधम् मूर्तमहेश्वरमोज्ज्वल भास्करमेष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् इष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् इष्टममर नरवन्द्यम् शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्रीरामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु जय श्री गुरु महाराज जी की जय जय महामाई की जय जय स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय जय गंगा माई की जय.
Thanks to everybody. Please collect refreshment packets from outside. I will request only the faculty members to please stay back. So Maharaj has already spent so much time with us. I requested him to be with us a little more time so that the faculty members can very briefly brief him about what they are doing. So only the faculty members please stay back.